Oh,
It lives!
It does live.
Is roll 20 up, by the way?
Yes, or
Okay.
20
wait a minute. This is
Alright, who wants to recap what happened last time? Besides the technical problems that happened last time.
Oh, that's right. We did have technical problems, didn't we?
Yeah,
I can recap. I have my notes right in front of me.
that's fine. Go for it.
So we are in Forge right now, and basically it was a lot of Bryn going around and seeing to various items that he had to take care of. So I made sure that the blacksmith's daughter from Greenvale, that she was returned with her family or whomever that could take care of her. Bryn and Monticello took Layla, Monticello's friend, back home to Silver Peak, where she lives. I met with her family, and then I met with I went to see the lore keepers and met with my my mentor, essentially, and there's a lot of information that was exchanged. The Amber Shards are causing lots of problems. They actually were like building a new fortress on some of my old family lands potentially, and my father was among some of the clan members that went to investigate and was actually injured there and is in a bad condition now. There have been apparently skirmishes with the Amber Shards and their cronies going on. The Dwarf King has been seen less and less. The Stone Council is basically taking over running the Empire right now, the kingdom. And the Amber Shards, of course, have their fingers well into this. My family is one of the families that's sort of keeping their power in check, but who knows how long that'll last. The whole party has been experiencing strange dreams, Bryn among them, and consulted with my mentor to see like what he thought of these, and he was pretty troubled by them, along with the news that I brought to him about what we've experienced in the past, and the Soul Forge and all that. All bad news. And there's some concern, at least from what he was telling me, that we could be on the brink of a civil war here if things go worse, and that we have to be very careful how we tread at this point. And that was pretty much it for my side of the story. At this point, I've decided I have to go speak with my family. I have to go see my father. And after that, Tilawan, my mentor, wants me to come back to investigate some of the things I've seen in my dreams. So that was basically that. Did I miss anything?
That sounds about right. I don't think you missed anything. The shopping and the sidebar, but I don't think that really needs recapping. Oops.
It was shopping. Things were shopped.
Things were shops.
I could tell because I could see the pixels.
Yes, you beat me to it. Okay.
Excuse me.
Let's see. All right. So, with that in mind, what do you guys want to do?
Excuse me. Sorry, that must have been the Mexican I had for lunch. Do you want us to roll for our
yes.
relationships?
Thank you. Go ahead and roll for your icon relationships.
That's not great, but okay.
Give me a second. Cinder was writing a letter.
Yes.
Did that get sent? For and
I don't remember what I said for that.
the icons hate me, as usual.
Help me, Archmage. You're my only hope.
No. And he's like, no.
Nobody's
Sorry.
helping me today. They're all sleeping. They're helping Cinder, apparently.
So I believe
I rolled a 1.
I saw. And a couple of 4s. Not quite enough, but
I rolled a 1.
I was
we
just
have,
yelling at Cinder.
What was Cinder's? Cinder, what was your letter? Who were you writing to? I don't. Oh, is that to your
Archie. Or you're trying to arrange a meeting with somebody from the Archmage. I can't remember.
Yes, that was done and delivered.
Yes. And I think I said that was going to take a couple of days to arrange. Yeah, I think it was a couple, something like that anyway.
Where we left that was that I was able to get the letter to them, but it's going to take a couple days for reply.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
Because mine was
Okay,
pretty
so-
much just writing the letter, handing it off to the right person, and then they took care of it from there.
Yeah, that you used your icon relationship to ensure that it actually got to the right person. So, all right. So, icon relationships are being rolled. What do you guys want to do now? I know you mentioned wanting to go back to your family. Ben,
I do.
everybody going to join you for that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I would definitely, at this point, I would, having met with, the people I've met with and assumingly met back up with the rest of the group, I would basically tell them that things here are kind of unstable, and if we stick together when we can, that's probably in everyone's best interest, because things could get ugly if things get worse here. So I'm going to go visit my family. If you'll accompany with me, and the mutual protection would be appreciated, and the support would be appreciated. I just asked you to respect my family and my the rights of my clan.
I'm almost offended that you would even have to suggest that to me.
No, for you it wasn't a suggestion, it was an order.
Will there be beer?
Oh, there'll be ale. Whether or not there will be beer, I don't know. I don't know if these dwarves have found hops yet.
I'm in.
If it's just a question of showing them how to hop, we can go grab Becky for that.
All right, so you guys are heading off to the Mar clan holdings in. I believe I said they were in Silver Peak, didn't I? Or were they?
I thought you said Gold Peak, but I don't know if that's
you're right,
true.
You're right. It was in Gold Peak.
Okay.
So you get to one of the checkpoints that goes between Gold Peak and Silver Peak, and the guards there pretty much hold you up and grill you pretty intensely about why you're bringing these people into Gold Peak. What's their purpose? How long are they going to be there? That sort of rigmarole. And it's the first time you've ever actually had to go through that. You've never brought anybody who wasn't authorized to be in Gold Peak to be there. But it's more or less a formality. It's not something that, it's not like there's a day worth of paperwork or a strip search or anything weird like that. It's probably a good thing for most of you. There's not a strip search. Delana probably might offer to strip, but that depends on how much beer she's got in her.
Yeah, you did hear me. Always look for good strip searches.
I can't hear you very well, Brandy.
Always look for a good strip search.
Oh yeah.
He's always in for a good strip search?
Yes.
Yes.
You sound very far away, Brandy. I don't know why that is.
She's in the kitchen.
That would be because you are far away. Okay.
Exactly.
Answer.
It's in glorious high def.
All right. So it takes probably a good 30, maybe 45 minutes to get everybody through. They give everybody a very close look. It seems like they've got some magic at the checkpoint that's kind of, you're not sure what the purpose is. Even Bryn, you're not sure what it is. But there's some sort of magical aura or barrier that you guys pass through as you're heading to the Gold Peak.
Is this new?
You tell me, is it new or is that something that's been there before?
Let's see. I think it's more interesting if it's something that wasn't there the last time I was here.
Okay. In that case, no. This is the first time you've ever seen it like that. Give me a cleric of the Allfather plus intelligence check.
Okay.
Anybody else can can also use a skill to identify the magic being used, if you so choose.
I was trying to find out if it's going to affect me or not, so I'm going to try plus intelligence. I'm
Yeah,
playing both.
yeah, you're identifying something in this case, so yeah, everybody's going to use intelligence on this.
Right.
Great rule. Great rule.
I am too concerned. At this point, I'm thinking a lot about my father.
Yes, that would make sense. Is anybody else going to roll?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Okay. Icon relationships are allowed too.
I got 17. Looks like Cinder got 18.
Both Cinder and you and Delana recognize it as some sort of divination magic. But you can't tell what it's trying to divine. You're not sure what it's checking for.
I want to use my icon relationship.
With who?
Again, do I have any trouble
Working.
passing?
I'm sorry. What was that, Brandy?
Do I have any trouble passing through the barrier?
Hold on. I have to turn you up because I can't hear you very well.
She was asking if she
Right.
had any trouble passing through the barrier.
No.
Okay.
It's not this much you can tell from your roll. It's not a preventative thing. It's
like a metal detector, right?
Yeah.
But not a metal detector.
Mhm.
As opposed to a force field.
It's checking for something.
Right.
Or some things. You're not really sure. Matt, you said you had an icon relationship with a Dwarf King that you wanted to use?
Yes, it's a Styx.
Alright, how do you want to use it?
With the connections through the shipping company, certainly I would have heard something about this from people traveling back and forth, taking goods through, exporting things out.
Okay. That seems reasonable. Alright, so basically what this is doing is this is checking for, even with your connections, you're not sure what it's checking for, but it's something rather exotic. It's something esoteric. They're not just checking for weapons, they're not checking for demons, they're not checking for magical items. They're checking for something that's really kind of unusual. And even from what you understand through your connections, Matt or Tormac, even though the guards themselves aren't sure what they're looking for, they just know that if the barrier, the divination magic sounds an alarm, they are to gather most of the home guard, which are the guards in Gold Peak, the Dwarf King's personal guard. They're to gather them and detain everybody who's passed through in the last 5 minutes.
I mutter, listen, I offered to do the strip search.
You can strip down for them if you like. They're not going to object.
The dwarves might. They don't want to see that.
I won't.
You wouldn't do any good, you're metal.
You're right, I kind of already am a hard-on.
Oh, God.
So I talked to Bryn about what I know, and I asked him if there's anyone in Forge that could create that type of a magic to detect something.
Oh, definitely. There are the arcane, basically guild that works through the for the king. They could do that.
I just kind of look
There's
at
access to that kind of magic.
I just kind of look at Tarmac. Hi.
do you like bang on your chest like? I wonder.
Tink, tink, tink. Po, little tink, tink.
Does it echo?
Alright, so you guys gonna do anything else at the checkpoint, or are you gonna move on?
No, I would move on as quickly as possible. I don't know about the rest of the group.
Yeah, I'm not looking at getting anything being noticed or anything like that.
Okay.
So as you move away, they say that you need to stay to your clan compound, or the people you're bringing with you need to stay to the clan compound, or they need to be out before the day is ended.
Curfew.
Curfew just for non-dwarves. So it's not terribly far from there to the Clan Mar compound. It's, you don't remember the last time you've seen this many guards and this many defensive measures in place, Brent. They're even getting in. The guards take a really long look at you, and they speak of you to things that only another clan member should know. And even doing so, they do so in oblique and kind of vague terms, looking suspiciously at the people you're with. But,
And they have this. They're having a conversation. They say these things to me, or they say these things amongst themselves.
Oh no, they say them to you. They're basically trying to gauge if you are who you say you are.
Oh, I understand. Like, okay, gotcha.
It's not quite a call and response, but it's similar.
I understand. They're okay. So it's not like before probably I would have passed through here and they may not have even I might have gotten a nod or something, but there would probably be no other questioning of what was going on. Would that seem fair?
Or they would have stopped you just to make sure that that they knew who you were, and then pretty much immediately passed you on.
Gotcha.
And it probably wouldn't have been a matter of they probably wouldn't have looked at the people you were with terribly. They would have looked at them closely because that's their job, but they probably would have passed them on without too many words about it.
Okay.
This time it's a somewhat lengthy process. You're talking to them for probably a good 5 or 6 minutes, assuring them that yes, you are Bryn of the Clan Mar, and these people are with you, or they're trustworthy, and so on and so forth. And even then, they don't let you in, but they send one of the guards inside, and you wait another few minutes, and you're not sure what they've sent someone in for, but before too long, it's clear as your mother exits the front gates and comes over and looks at you, and normally your mother would give you a hug, just that kind of person. This time she's a bit standoffish. It's been a long time, Bryn.
It has been, Mother, but I've returned. I have to see Father.
So you've heard. And these people are with you?
Yes. Compatriots. They've helped me quite a bit. They're trustworthy, believe me. I trust my life with them, and theirs with me. As a side question, Aaron, I'm assuming none of these guards are like house guards for my clan. They're all part of the King's Guard or some other.
No, these are clan guards.
Oh, these are clan guards. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
These are at your clan compound. These are your family guards.
Okay, interesting. All right.
So your mother looks at you, nods at what you've said, and says, "Come inside." Well, this is not a proper place for speaking of such things. And she leads you in. 2 of the guards precede her, and then you notice that 2 guards fall in behind you guys.
Wow.
As you're leading in. They're not crowding you.
Nope.
But they're not making it any secret that they're following you either.
Right.
So you head inside, Everything seems much as you remember it from several years before. It seems everybody inside is walking around with a bit more purpose. There's a certain energy in the air. There's something, an anxiety in the air. And your mother doesn't lead you to any of the meeting halls or the rooms, the dining hall, any place you might expect, but instead leads you down a set of stairs into the lower temple, the lower floors. I don't know where the temples came from. And leads you down several sets of stairs into one of the sub-basements. This is generally a storage room, but you can see that it's been, since last you were here, set up something you're really not quite sure. Give me a Lord Keeper of Forge check, Bren.
Okay.
Plus Wisdom.
$22 total.
Okay. You sense divination magic in the air, and you also see in the room, it's been set up like a giant ritual circle. And just about the time you notice this, your mother passes through to the other side and says, Bren, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but I want you and your friends to stay right there. We have to ask some questions.
You have to ask some questions.
We need... I don't know how much you've heard about what's been going on, but the clan has been under attack. Not overtly, except for the ambush that your father was caught in, but we've caught several spies attempting to infiltrate the house. Shapeshifters, changelings. And until we know for sure that you are who you say you are and your friends can be trusted, you will not leave this room.
Mother, come on. I'm your own flesh and blood. Returning home and this is how you treat me?
I saw your sister 2 days ago saying much the same thing, and it turns out she was not your sister but a changeling. Times are dire, and I apologize for insulting you, but nevertheless, we must be sure.
I stand there and I start fussing with the ring of the ram that I have on my hand, and I just sort of grunt in acknowledgement. I'm not happy about it, but fine.
So she's on the far side of the room, and she touches a panel on the wall, which you hadn't noticed before. It's inscribed with runes and sigils, and as her hand places on it, she speaks a word that you can't hear, and the ritual circle that you thought you recognized on the floor turns out to be more than just on the floor. It's on the walls. It's on the ceiling. It's bathing the area in a pale blue light, and she asks, "Are you truly my son, Bryn?"
Yes.
The light pulses just a slight bit brighter, and then it returns to the shade that it was before. And she nods, and she looks at the rest of you, and each of you she turns and asks, "Do you swear upon the Allfather and your very soul that you mean no harm to this clan or the people within it?"
Yes.
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 And each answer, the light pulses once more, and you feel almost like a mist settling over each one of you, and the lights, the ritual circle, fades, and Bryn, the sense of magic in the air starts to fade again. Your mother sighs a tremendous sigh of relief, and walks over and hugs you, and it's very clear from the way she's hugging you, she's been very scared.
Yeah.
She's been very anxious, and says, "I'm so sorry, Bryn, but if you'd known what's been going on, you'd understand." And then she turns to the rest of you and says, "I apologize that this is not the way a good host should act, but times are difficult. But please let us go upstairs and sit down, and we can discuss things more comfortably." So she leads you back up the sets of stairs that she let you down initially, and she eventually leads you to one of the meeting halls and gestures for you all to sit down. She signals to one of the guards to go and get some refreshments for everybody, and then she sits down at the head of the table where, Bryn, you realize that your father normally would have sat, but she's sitting there now. Okay. Was there anything in specific you didn't share, Bryn?
The only thing I wouldn't, so I would have told everyone else about, basically, I don't think I would have given them the full details because it wasn't necessary, but I probably would have told them everything about, like, there's been some problems with the Amber Shards. There are things that, like the council is now controlling things, all that stuff. I would probably have not mentioned the stuff about the dreams I've been having, or would have skirted around it, because that information is more just privy, me and the and Tilo, whatever his name is. I can never think of his name. Tilo. But the other stuff, the stuff about what's going on in Forge right now, yeah, I would have given them the gist of that information.
Okay. All right. So once you've gotten in and the guards have left and shut the door behind them, your mother just looks. She looks so tired. She looks so frail in comparison to when you last saw her, and shakes her head and says, "It's good to have you home, Bryn. Though I wish circumstances were better."
I do too.
So, what have you heard?
Bits and pieces. I heard that the Amber Shards have been causing troubles, both here and abroad. I've heard that Father led members of the clan to investigate what happened and was injured. Bits and pieces, but I don't know the full story.
Please.
Well, let me see if I can fill you in on some of the things going on in Forge since we left. I'll start with the family business and work from there. You are right. Your father's been injured, and I'll take you to see him after we're done here. The Amber Shards have been making a play for power. We're not sure how they've done it, but they've managed to. They've done something to the Dwarf King. The Dwarf King himself hasn't been himself for quite a while now, and he's been increasingly bedridden. And the Council of Stone, right now it's mostly deadlocked, but the Amber Shards and their allies have been pushing very hard to take full control of the Council and, by default, control of Forge and the rest of the Dwarven kingdoms. Your father heard that the Amber Shards were working on something to the north. Wasn't on our lands, but it was near our lands, and he felt that he needed to see the situation himself. he felt that it was probably a play to make an overt move against us. We've been one of the key features in keeping the Amber Shards from taking complete control, and he knows that if we were to be discredited or, God forbid, destroyed, that the Amber Shards would probably be able to pick up the pieces and take full control. So your father went to the north with 50 retainers, 50 of our guards. He didn't intend to get very close to what they were doing, but the Amber Shards somehow knew he was coming, and more than 200 of their mercenaries and house guards attacked 3 days out of Forge. They had weapons, they had abilities that we've never seen before. This steel, some of the surviving members brought back some examples, and it scares me. There's something to the feel of these weapons disturbs me greatly. And that's before getting into some of the powers and other abilities that these mercenaries and Amber Shards demonstrated. Things that I've never heard of. It's, in any case, your father and about 7 others all made it back to Forge, hounded the whole way by the mercenaries. Your father still lives, but he is gravely wounded. All things being equal, he should be able to recover, but it probably will be months, if not years.
Do you have any of the steel?
We do. If it's something you think you might be able to help us with, I'm more than happy to show it to you after we've finished here.
I think it might be a good idea to look at it at the very least.
And that's just the problems that we've been having. There's been a number of other disturbances here in Forge that we can't directly link the Amber Shards to them. It seems they could be very just well taking advantage of some problems, but whatever the case may be, there's been other issues causing problems here in Forge. There have been, in Bronze mostly, but Silver Peak as well, there have been numerous instances of people, we don't know if it's a disease or a curse, but people will wake up with a black sigil on their neck or their chest, and there doesn't seem to be any harm in it for a while, but the longer the people have this sigil, the more prone to fits of anger and madness they've proven. And it's to the point where there's a secret space in Silver Peak, which is being used as an asylum to take these people and keep them separated. But no matter what the Dwarf King's forces have done, this curse, this disease, still spreads, and it's beginning to take its toll on everybody here in Forge. To add to the chaos, there's this troupe of troubadours, of bards, playwrights, and under normal circumstances that would be welcome in these trying times for everybody, but something about the plays, about their performances they've sparked riots, they've sparked fights, they've sparked any number of troubles, and they're again, there doesn't seem to be any direct link, but nevertheless, the problems seem to be following these actors around as they perform in different parts of Forge. So there's the first riot that I've ever heard of in Gold Peak was mere hours after one of their performances concluded. And it's ratcheting up the tension. Things are dangerous in Forge now, Brent.
Is there any correlation between the people who've seen these plays and the people who've come down with this mysterious illness?
Good question.
She thinks about it and says, I'm not sure. There could be, but it's not something we've investigated before. It seems two different problems entirely.
It seems to me.
Would it be possible for us to interview these people at some point? The ones that are coming down with this mysterious
That could be difficult. That's even. It would probably take an order from the council to be able to see these folk. That doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't be done, just that it might take some time and some effort to do. Do you think it's truly worth looking into?
I'd have to talk to my colleagues and find out. It's just a thought I had.
I think that being able to interview them might shed some light.
Aaron, is what she described as just as a side note? Is what she described the people that are getting sick? Is that similar to the people that we saw in Isicadat with the that were taken over, that were attached to that ritual?
Without seeing them directly,
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, without seeing them directly, it's difficult to say for 100%, but it sounds tremendously familiar.
Okay. I mean, it seems likely, but...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. It seems likely, but you can't say for sure until you've got more information.
Right. Which, if we were to interview them or at least see someone that had it, we'd have a little bit more information.
Yeah, I think that would help. So we can establish if it's the same thing, and maybe if they're not too far gone or they're not directly under the influence, we might get some answers from them that we couldn't get from the others.
I also think it would be a good idea to find these troubadours.
Yeah, that's really strange.
Sit in on a performance, maybe.
Are these troubadours and performers, are they all dwarves, or is this from an exterior?
This is an outside group.
This is not what?
It's an outside group. There are dwarves among them, but it's no more than you might see in any other circus or group of performers.
I'm a little surprised that the council wouldn't have responded by revoking their access, but I suppose if the Amber Shards had some hand in it, they might be holding that back.
Your mother kind of shrugs and says, "This, I'm not sure that this has even been brought before the council, and if it were, things are so problematic in the council right now that even if it had been, I'm not sure anything would have been done. It's the Amber Shard and their allies reflexively oppose anything that someone who isn't their ally proposes, and the reverse is true. Anything that the Amber Shards propose is immediately stonewalled by everybody else. Forge still functions, but it's getting a bit creaky.
Are there any politicians that are not clearly aligned?
No. At this point, everybody has been forced to choose a side.
Um,
So is the council in gridlock then?
Generally speaking, the council is in gridlock. They can find common purpose here and there, but usually not on anything of substance.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, the situation only seems to be getting worse. As you can probably tell, the Amber Shards are really pushing to break the deadlock, and they're becoming increasingly less subtle in the ways that they do so. The attack on your father, we can't prove was the Amber Shards, but it's been the most overt attempt to shift the balance of power since the crisis began. And we can only assume that it's only going to get worse. The fact that the Amber Shards or somebody aligned with them has been trying to sneak spies into the clan is just another move in the ongoing game.
Hmm.
If we could do something to break their power, perhaps things might get back to normal, but it's been tremendously difficult going to just keep the status quo.
Hmm.
Oh.
I guess I picked a good time to come home.
Why have you come home? Not that I'm complaining, son, but it's an awfully convenient thing for you to have arrived right in the middle of all this mess.
I have numerous reasons for being here, one of, not the least of which is the Amber Shards and various activities we've discovered them in outside of Forge. And unfortunately, it just corroborates what you've told us that's going on here. And that they are moving in the world in ways that are disturbing and detrimental to the kingdom in general.
Things that you would not consider of any dwarf.
Right.
And what are these things?
Well, the least of which is they've allied themselves with various Dwargar and other mercenaries. That, of course, you know. They seem to be using whatever resources they have to consolidate some power. But we have witnessed them experimenting with various magics that are not that no dwarf should be experimenting with, uncovering things that shouldn't be uncovered, let's say. The details of which I will not trouble you with, but needless to say, they are things that if were completely exposed would either drive them from Forge or possibly ignite a civil war with among the clans.
That is disturbing news, but potentially good news as well. Do you have any proof of these things?
Yes, some. Other than our testimonies ourselves, I do have at least a letter that indicates that they have been in cahoots, as it were, to some extent with the Orc Lord. And we have found weapons that are similar to what you described in the attack against Father. We've discovered the forge on which they were fired.
I am somewhat curious. Has outside help been requested?
No, this is a dwarf matter. Unless unless it threatened to spill over into the Empire, there's been no reason to go to the Emperor or any other Imperial person for assistance with this.
Can I take Bryn aside?
Yeah.
Certainly.
I take you aside. We really should tell her about the presence of the orcs. That is escalating this. If they're going to bring the Orc Lord into this, then we need to be seeking outside help. The Archmage, the Emperor, somebody.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. However, you know my people. The council would never bring in outside help. The clans won't ask for outside help. My father wouldn't ask for outside help. This is a problem of the dwarves.
As much as it might be painful to ask, if subterfuge is to be used, we might ask the Prince of Shadows. If there's a soul forge being used, even he knows better than to allow that to continue.
I'll be honest, I don't know who we should ask for help or how we should even do it. At this point, there's so much going on. My mind is focused on my family and my father and the Amber Shards. But I appreciate the counsel.
Let's at least tell your mother about the Orc Lord. She may have guidance.
So I'll return to the rest of the group and basically sort of fill in my mother and some of the details about that the Amber Shards have been working, that that the orcs definitely sent an emissary or a representative to discuss with the Amber Shards potential alliance of some sort, and that the Orc Lord was providing or going to provide basically slaves in order to that the Amber Shards could use to forge these weapons that we've seen. And clearly they must have provided some at some point because they have a lot of these weapons. So
Okay. So she nods through your explanation, and again, towards the end, she says, "This could shift the power away from the Amber Shards and break the deadlock, but we need proof, something concrete that we can take to everybody. We've suspected for a long time that the Amber Shards have had ties with different Duragar clans, and to be fair, everybody in Forge uses mercenaries to some degree or another.
Sure.
But to ally with the Orc Lord would, even for the Amber Shards allies, probably be beyond the pale. It would be more than even they could afford to condone. So I'm not sure what we can do to find that proof. If there is proof to be found. Do you think you could go back to this place where you originally saw this emissary and find proof there?
We could conceivably return if that's what we needed to do. There isn't much left of it at this point. It was a ruin as it started.
At the suggestion of that, I start kind of shifting around a little bit uncomfortably.
But we escaped it by the skin of our teeth, as it were, and I'm not sure if we could infiltrate it again. And I start thinking about those sounds that we heard.
And we're not in a position to send a force that direction either. We've needed all of our guards and all of our people to safekeep our own holdings. So it would stretch us very thin indeed to send a military force alongside you, assuming that such a military force could even do any good in that place.
At this point, among us, we could each provide an affidavit to the council about what we've seen, but considering our clan's relationship with the Amber Shards, I'm not sure that the council would, it would do much, because the Amber Shards would just say, well, of course we're saying that because of grudges against the Amber Shards.
Exactly. We need something to discredit the Amber Shards. We need something to drive a wedge between them and their allies, long enough to stop their play for power, whether it be their dealings with the Orc Lord or some other crime or conspiracy. Whatever, we need something that can appeal to their allies in such a way that they have to abandon the Amber Shards. If the Dwarf King were more available, if he were not ill or whatever has happened to him, we might have been able to take your affidavits directly to him. But with the council in charge, with him indisposed, our options are more limited. We need something irrefutable, something.
They had used one of our old holdings to do some rather unusual magics. They were converting over their soldiers at the time, mercenaries, and I'm not quite sure I understand the transformation, but they were possessing them with some magics.
Is that so? Perhaps that is what we need. Perhaps that's what we can use.
Again, it might behoove us to talk to these people who have suffered this mysterious ailment to see if it's the same thing. If we can find a link back to the Amber Shards through them.
I think you've proven to me that there is likely a link here, and I will do everything within the clan's power to get you down into the asylum to meet with some of these people. It might take some time. We have people that we can talk to down there. It's getting you in there without being barred by somebody opposed to us that is the difficult thing. Give me 2 days, and I will have more information on about when we can get you to see the people down below in the asylum. I think you've convinced me that it's an important thing that you see them.
There is additionally a tiefling who we have some evidence may have been responsible for assisting in these rituals, but we don't know his location.
Do you have a name?
We do, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I look at Delana.
Give me a second, look it up. I can't remember.
Is it Yenyen? Is that the guy's name?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yenyen?
That was the name we were given.
That's a name I've heard before. He was He was hired as a scout on your father's expedition north. He said he had information regarding the area that would be useful, and his credentials checked out. We inquired with some of the other merchants that he'd been employed with before, some of the other people he'd worked for, and everything seemed to be on the up and up. He didn't return with your father and the other soldiers. We'd assumed that he was lost. But if what you're saying is true, then maybe he's the one who led them right into that ambush in the first place. Though I couldn't begin to guess why. It's worrisome how connected things seem to be.
Indeed.
Yes, definitely. There's definitely some common thread between all of this. It's a matter of finding it and proving it.
I'm not sure about the rest of you, but one of my primary concerns is a line of the Orc Lord with dwarves. I'm still trying to think of ways to be able to forestall that. And my best idea is to distract the Orc Lord. I can think of 2 or 3 methods to that. And some of them are kind of questionable.
The Orc Lord is a concern, but if the dwarves aren't united in the face of the Orc Lord, then we have no real chance.
That's kind of what I mean. There are things... We know that the soul forges are bad business. If the Crusader learned about them, and that the Orc Lord was endorsing them, he would leave First Triumph on the morning and march his happy little army up to go trounce the Orc Lord and all of his followers. I mean, even the Lich King, because he needs a reason to fight the Orc Lord. If he heard about this, and those are just 2, the Archmage, the Emperor.
I think you might be prescribing a little too much animosity towards the Orc Lord. The Crusader might very well join forces with the Orc Lord if it suited his purpose. The Lich King as well.
Well, the Orc Lord by himself, I think, doesn't rate on most of their radars normally, just because he's so far north, just because he's so far out of the way.
On a meta level, that's not true.
Okay.
They rate very highly on their radars, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay. But how likely is it that any of them know about the Soul Forges?
Considering that we didn't know about the Soul Forge until you brought this information here, it's very likely that none of them know about it.
And
though, given what you told me, it's not even sure that the Orc Lord knows that it's a Soul Forge. He might just he might think he's getting enchanted weapons, weapons that are enchanted in a more typical fashion.
Think we should have the Archmage explain it to him?
Let's go look at these weapons that were brought back from the ambush. Then, if these are the same as the ones you've seen, then we can start to pull those threads together. There are representatives from the Archmage in Forge at the moment, And if it is the threat that you say it is, if it truly is a soul forge, then perhaps that we can bring them in. As reluctant as I am to bring in outsiders into this conflict, it would beat dealing with the Orc Lord on our own. And if the Amber Shards are in league with the Orc Lord, gods only know what kind of devastation they could do while we were distracted. That may be the plan in and of itself. The Amber Shards could be baiting the Orc Lord into attacking so that they have a reason to take control. Kill off some of the families and their support.
It's a very interesting hypothesis.
Well, we never said they were stupid.
The Amber Shards may be anything. Stupid is not one of them.
I'd also like to find out how these players are related, as Cinder suggested.
Tormac, you've been mostly quiet through all this. Do you have any counsel for us?
That doesn't involve flirting with Tormac's mother, or Bryn Mare's mother.
I start to speak, and then you say that, and I just no. No, I mean I'm uncomfortable knowing that there's a chance we might have to go back into these places.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's what it takes to resolve this, then I say it's worth the risk.
I think there are other options we can explore before we go back there again.
In the immediate future, I ask that you hold tight. Let me see if I can get you into the asylum. We'll have you look at the weapons after dinner and see if these are the ones from the Soul Forge, the Chad Marad that you mentioned. And if that's the case, then I can petition the Archmage for a meeting with his, or the Archmage's emissaries for a meeting with them to discuss the matter. They might not be able to break the political deadlock here, but they might be able to put us on the right path to something that would. And
Someone say food.
yes, I'm sorry to keep you speaking here for so long without dining, but let's head downstairs and speak of better things, and eat.
Will there be liquid refreshment?
I just look at her.
Sorry, this is heavy. I can drink.
I will break out a cask of one of our finest.
Oh,
I promise.
that is music to my ears.
So,
A dwarven home without ale would be like a dwarven home without ale.
so she leads you out of the meeting room where you've been speaking for the last while. And as you're leaving, Bryn, you recognize another divination spell. This definitely wasn't there before, and this is definitely a spell you've run into before, which is to basically keep people from eavesdropping, either magically.
Sure, it's an anti-scrying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
figured as
definitely new. That's not the sort of thing that your family would have around, except in the most sensitive of areas before, and even then it was kind of rare. So, it's more or less a feast that you're greeted with. Roast lamb, potatoes. It's pretty much anything you can think of. And yes, there is a great deal of very good dwarven ale, as well as harder liquor for those inclined towards it. And so, your mother kind of makes small talk. Bryn asks you how things have been, whether you've been to the Lord Keeper since you've been back.
Mm-hmm.
After a little while, after she's had a few drinks and she kind of looks over you and looks a bit down crestfallen. That's what I want for. And says, I haven't seen your sister in a while. She and your father had a falling out, and she bolted, and unfortunately, I have no idea what's been going on with her, if she's safe, what she's doing. I can only ask that All Father protect her, but I'm sure she would have liked to have seen you, since it had been quite a while since she's seen you.
I give the rest of the group a look like, hey, maybe it's a good time to get some fresh air, kind of thing.
I just stare at you like, what are you? You got something in your eye?
If you wouldn't mind, I would like to visit with my mother alone for a bit.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go take this jug and go upstairs or wherever. Is there a room for us?
There is, but if you'd like, I can have one of the guards lead you to the weapons, and you can look at those while Bryn and I discuss something.
Excellent idea.
I like that thought. I vote for the weapons.
Yes, let's do that.
Very well. So she calls in one of the guards and speaks to him quietly, and he looks at the rest of you and nods respectfully and says, "If you'll please follow me, I'll show you what we collected." And then we return to Bryn. So, what is it, Bryn? What did you have to speak?
Is the chamber we're in now also protected by that ward?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Is this something really?
No, I just... So I take her hand. And
Bryn? You're scaring me here.
my face just sort of falls. And I say, I have seen Rion One Mother.
Oh, that's fantastic news then.
No, it's... I wish it were under better circumstances. She's gone, Mother.
And
she's with our ancestors now.
She looks at you and she clearly can't figure out something to say. And finally, after several moments of kind of scrambling to collect her thoughts, she goes, "How? Why? What happened, Bryn?"
She fell in with the ember shards, it would seem. I don't know why. I don't understand. But she blamed me. She blamed Father. But she mostly blamed me.
Blamed you for what? What could drive her into the ember shards?
She claims that I was denying the duties to our clan, that everything fell upon her, and it was not a weight that she wanted, not a responsibility that she could handle, and that with me doing my part as the lore keeper, that all this passed to her, and she didn't want to be saddled with married off to some other clan's patriarch or whatever, that she felt trapped.
That was the crux of the arguments she had with your father, that she didn't want to do the clan duties. She didn't feel that she had to do them, and your father was reluctant to push them on her, but at the same time, it was for the good of the clan. And shortly after that time, she left. She took some money, she took some equipment, and she disappeared. We searched high and low, but wherever she went, she was completely missing. And if she fell in with the Amber Shards, that would explain why our people couldn't find her.
I just don't understand. She was smarter than that. She was a different person when I saw her. She was embraced by some strange tattoos. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know. It was her, but I don't know if it was her. I don't know if she was even still herself anymore. But she's gone now.
Your mother just kind of shakes her head and says, "This is a lot to take in, Bryn. I hope you understand."
I'm sorry. I should have come sooner, but I didn't know. I didn't know what to do.
At least we know. I suppose it's better than wondering what happened to our daughter. Thank you, Bryn. I know that must have been difficult.
I just want my sister back.
I'm with you there, Bryn. I keep this from your father for now, and from any of the rest of the clan. I fear that this might be too difficult for your father to bear right now.
I cannot bring this news to him at any rate.
He needs this. No, I will talk with him, but not soon. We've found let's concentrate on the living for now, and when this crisis is over, we can pay our dues to the dead. Whatever might happen with your sister, she was still family. She was still your sister and my daughter, and we will make that right.
Let us drink and forget these problems for now.
And she nods and picks up her glass and raises it wordlessly and waits for you to do the same, and then drinks.
And scene.
And scene. Now we move on to everybody else. So the guard takes you down the corridor, down a set of stairs, and takes you to what looks to be probably what is an armory. Normally, Delana and Cinder, you can definitely tell that this is not normally used very often, but for whatever purpose it has been reopened and is being restocked with arms and armor. And the guard brings you in, looks around, makes sure that nobody else is in the room, closes the door, and says, "I have to ask that you keep this quiet. The clan as a whole has no knowledge of these things. The only reason I am allowed to know is because I was one of the survivors that went north. And he goes over and opens and there's a treasure chest with 3 locks on it, and he takes 3 separate keys and unlocks them and opens them up. And he points down to them and says, I will not touch one of those. I'm sorry. You'll have to examine them more closely for yourself.
I pick one of them up.
It's definitely made with soul steel. It's from the Chakmaron.
Do we still have any ourselves?
You have, if I remember right, you have a dagger and you have some arrowheads.
Arrowheads. Didn't we do something with the arrowheads though? Didn't we use them in the original?
I think we destroyed those per
The arrowheads, I
Bryn's
think we did.
request. I think we used the dagger at one point, and then I believe we destroyed the rest of them.
I think you kept something though. I think you kept some of it around.
Probably
I'm pretty
some
sure we kept
arrowheads.
something, but I don't remember specifically.
Yeah. Let's say you kept the dagger around because that seems the most likely.
I think so. I know I gave it to Tormac to hang on to.
Yeah, we were just recently talking about selling it, I believe.
I know Bryn didn't like it.
Yeah, but I think you kept it to.
We wanted evidence. I mean, we wanted.
Yeah,
to make sure that we had
that's
something.
why you guys kept it. Is that it was evidence, and otherwise you did not want to keep any of the rest of it, because it was full of souls, basically.
Yeah.
So, the magic that we passed through, the detection magic,
Uh-huh.
If I had this dagger, it wasn't concerned with that?
No. But
Clearly not, because we made it this far. But interesting.
I am kind of curious. What can we ask the guard? He's still there. What were they looking for?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that very well.
Sorry. Is the guard still with us?
Yes.
I approach him and I say, what was that all about when we first came in? What is it that you were looking for?
I think you guys are getting mixed up with the
Okay, it was
the
before that.
checkpoint.
Yeah.
The checkpoint was different than what you guys went through here at the Bryn clan holding.
Yeah, I'm always confused.
Yeah, the Bryn clan holding the ritual downstairs, you recognize after the fact, is basically a zone of truth spell, and they were just basically making sure that you guys were telling the truth and that you were actually who you say you are. The checkpoint was something different.
Okay, so I'm just confused. Got it.
Even so, can they shed any light on that?
He shakes his head, says, "You've seen the checkpoints. We've seen them searching for something, but I have no idea what it could be."
Well, we can tell you. This is the same steel. And I'm curious as to the abilities that the Amber Shards used on you. Probably the same ones that have been used on us a couple times now. Dark runes
And purple energy.
Oh yeah, we really like the purple glow.
I think they might be related. Yes. We've seen sorcerers before. We've seen wizards. These were similar but different. There was something wrong about this energy. I mean, this is Forge. This is the place where more magical weapons and armor and artifacts are created than any other place. And this was beyond our experience. But you say these are from the Trodmaron. They are soul forged weapons, and you're sure of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's... You don't get this feeling off of anything else.
No, I can't say that I ever have. It's...
Spooky?
Yes. Carrying them back was not an experience that I ever wish to repeat. I could feel, even through the bag, even through the sheaths, I could feel something malevolent, something wrong. All the way down to my bones, down to my very soul. And if the Amber Shards are using these, I want the whole fucking clan wiped off the map.
Mm.
This goes beyond politics, this goes beyond power, these things are an affront to everything we hold dear.
That sounds like it to me.
Bad juju.
I've probably said too much, but if you're sure that these are from the Soul Forge, then we're probably best to report to the clan leader about it and let her know what we know.
Yeah.
And I, for one, would be happy to lock these back up again. So if you're sure, then can you please set them back in so I can lock them away?
Yeah, put it back in the chest or wherever.
Yeah, within the chest. And he very quickly shuts it right back again and locks it up. It would in other circumstances be almost comical, but you can tell that he's genuinely unnerved by those things, and having dealt with them before, you can kind of understand why. But he leads you back over, and you re-enter the dining area, probably some few minutes after Bryn and his mom have had their discussion. And you guys heading into the room, you notice how somber and kind of down the two of them look.
I should say that I owe a debt of gratitude to these companions. Mother, they've fought along my side now for a short time, but proven themselves trustworthy allies.
Then you also have my thanks, and the thanks of my family and my clan. I don't know that I can keep asking more of you, but I'm afraid that I must. But for tonight, please eat, drink, rest. Tomorrow, we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I do say, Bryn, and the rest of you as well, just by coming in here, you've identified yourself as having connections to this clan, and you should be careful walking the streets of Forge. Open fighting has been rare, but more than a few people have woken up in alleys after some vicious beatings, and more than a few people have never woken up at all. I'm not sure that the Amber Shards would really risk going after you, but if you make yourself a target, they might.
might want to think about walking around in costume in disguise if we need to do anything in town.
I thought you were going to say in cosplay.
I almost said costume. I'm like, no, that's not right.
Bryn's walking around as a computer programmer.
So, I'm not saying you should stay here and keep yourself confined, but be careful. You could find more trouble waiting on your doorstep than you really realize.
Gee, thanks, Bryn.
I do apologize. I would have expected if I brought friends to Forge that the traditional dwarven hospitality would have been much more evident. These are strange times.
Yes, strange times, dangerous times. With luck, we can set things right, but it'll take time and effort. But for now, rest. Enjoy your time here. You are welcome under my roof, and within my home. And if there's anything that I can do for you, please speak, and I will do my best. Bryn,
Yes.
we can see your father tomorrow.
That's
At this point, he is probably asleep, and he's best off rested.
fine.
And I will take my leave for the night. If you need anything, speak to one of the guards outside, and they will help, or they will pass the request up if they need to. But I bid you a good night. And she hugs Bryn again, kisses him on the forehead, and leaves the room. And then there's awkward silence.
Well,
As one might expect.
So, who's sharing the bed with me?
I reach my hand around his shoulder and just kind of lay my hand on his other shoulder. Look down at him.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all. And I know creepy pretty damn good.
Longingly into his eyes.
Anybody else have any thoughts that we haven't discussed in reference to Bryn's mother?
Tormac, I don't want to hear it. Thank you, by the way, for not winking at her during dinner, though.
It was hard.
I know. That's why I'm thanking you for not winking at her.
That's why I didn't stand up. I didn't want her to see my near perfect ass.
You're still wearing a cloak. Stop
He's
it.
a married man. Yeah, well, I mean, what do you guys think? I apologize for doing most of the talking there, but we have
Full house.
a couple of avenues in front of us here, and in terms of things we can investigate. I would like to know what's going on with these performers. That's pretty strange. And obviously, if we get a chance to interview these people that have been, strict by this curse or whatever, that's, something to look into while we're here in Forge.
I don't know why I can't shake the feeling that these playwrights have some kind of power behind them. I would suggest sending someone who's not easily influenced to talk to them. I might be crazy, but that's something that pops into my head.
Why do I get the feeling that the entire party just looked at me?
You're a very perceptive metal man.
God damn it. That's what I wanted to do anyway. I like a good tussle.
No, we're not fighting them. We're observing their play.
Did you say that out loud as your arm was still around me?
Yes, yes. I look down at you as I say, I like a good tussle.
That is not right.
That reminds me, Cinder, at some point I do have to return to the lore keepers, and I think some of them would be very fascinated to meet you.
Yeah, about that. Do you think any of them could help me find out what's been happening with, I don't know, the stable hands that were supposed to be watching my Drake, the ones that created me, anything? I mean, it seems kind of weird that nobody knows what happened to them.
I think we could definitely look through the archives. The lore keepers keep all manner of information, including what most people would consider mundane birth records, death records, other clerical information, things like that. Maybe there's some kind of information there that could help you track down some information about yourself and your past.
Yeah, especially with a couple of things that have come to light recently. I don't like to take the word of pseudo-psychotic dwarves, but Mr. Alter Time and Space kind of got me on edge a little bit.
Yes, that was unusual, to say the least. And I don't... the Amber Shards dealing with that kind of magic and other ritualistic endeavors is very unusual and would be very frowned upon if it was made public, for obvious reasons.
No.
So, Brandy, is there anything in particular that you want to do while we're... Is there any one of these things we've talked about that you particularly are interested in, or anything related to your character while we're in Forge that you need to pursue?
We've already worked on some of that, and Aaron, Lloyd, and I are supposed to be talking about that a little bit more in detail.
Okay.
I would be interested in watching the playwrights, but don't know that I would not be a good candidate for that. So probably interviewing visiting the sick, the people who are under this mysterious curse, especially since I was familiar with that magic.
Well, if we want to go and investigate these performers, I can perform some protection magic. It's possible that I may be able to ward us against, any at least strange exposure that we might be exposed to. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean.
Okay, that would. Yeah,
I could certainly try.
That's a good idea.
You think it should be able to... It's definitely something within your grasp, even though you may have to go to the archives and research the exact ritual, but you're pretty sure that you can do something.
Yeah, I think I would probably, I know like Shield of Faith, and of course I know Bless and things like that. And I figure there's probably a related ritual that uses some of the same magic, and again, I could probably look it up.
A Shield of Faith is probably the most appropriate spell to start with, I think. But yeah, that's fine. Okay, so what do you guys want to do the next day? I will tell you that you will not get into the asylum the next day.
Right.
If you ask around, you can find that the troubadours, they are setting up for their next performance. It is in Bronze Peak, but it is not the next night. It's but they are in Bronze Peak. But they're not performing until the night after. What else? The Archimage you probably won't hear back from for at least another day. It might come as soon as tomorrow.
Maybe if nothing's available tomorrow, then maybe going around town and trying to seek out people who have seen this show, so we can talk to the people who might have seen this show.
Okay.
Before we even conclude that evening, I want to look over at the guard that showed us the armory and say, by the way, quick question. Can I trade something to you?
Trade something?
I pull out my two-handed dwarven axe. Yeah. In coming events, I think that you guys might be able to use a bit of Amber Shard weaponry. It might be helpful to cast a certain light in certain directions. And I also kind of want to use a polearm from a little while.
A look of understanding comes across his face and says, I think we can help you out there. What kind of polearm would you like?
I was thinking a halberd.
I'll have one delivered to your room in the morning.
Thank you, thank you.
Then he gives it to one of his subordinates and then they speak for a moment before the guy runs up with the axe. Alright, so you guys want to go and ask, you want to basically inquire about the troubadours tomorrow. What else do you think you want to do?
I just realized that we're kind of associated with the with Bryn's clan. Do we want to try to go in disguise so we can be less conspicuous? Or do we think that it would be okay to just go as we are?
It depends on what you're worried about. If you're worried that we'll get attacked, that's one thing. If you're worried that we won't be able to get enough information because of my clan associations, it could be in our favor or it could be against us, because if we run into somebody that is somehow related to my clan or whatever, then we might get more information. But the opposite is also true if we find people that are supporters of the Amber Shards.
Yeah, I was concerned about people not wanting to talk, either because they're aligned with the Amber Shards or because they're afraid to get involved. Or get caught in the middle.
It's a good question. Part of me thinks like I would have well, it depends on where we go, I guess. I was going to say part of me thinks I would have somewhat of a hard time hiding just because I'm a member of a clan, well, not that I'm a high member in my clan, but I am a lore keeper, so I would have to I would probably hide my lore keeper's pin, which up until now I had exposed and stuff like that. But the rest of you are kind of we have a metal man and a tiefling and a human. Like, I think we would stand out regardless.
Point.
Which I'm not saying that the idea is bad. It's just I don't know. I don't know if we're stick out like a sore thumb anyway. So if it's worth the effort.
You think that individually or in pairs you probably wouldn't stick out, but as a full group, probably.
Okay. So if you want to err on the side of caution and try to, I mean, I think Tormac already doesn't he have an eye patch or something? Like he shaved he dyed his hair and stuff like that, so he could probably move his eye patch to the other eye or something. Like he's pretty easy. I can probably just wear like wear a hooded cloak and or different cloak, one that doesn't show my order and stuff like that, and
well,
do it that way.
As you mentioned, we might get better help from people who were familiar with the clan and side with your clan, so maybe we can even do half and half. A couple of us disguise and a couple of us just go as ourselves, whoever is going to be easiest to disguise.
Yeah, that's true too.
It might be better to split up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest danger would be is if you're with me, then even if you didn't know that that you guys came in with me, as soon as they see you with me, that's already the association. Whereas if Tormac and you or whatever are by yourselves, then that's not as they may not recognize that you are whatever. Now, of course, to get around anywhere, I'll have to get us all around. But once we're between peaks, we should be okay.
I'm just throwing this out there as an idea. I have been in Forge before. Specifically, I've been around a lot of the lower levels of Forge that have a slightly more dubious reputation. And it's kind of known that I'm a mercenary in those areas. So if I were to go alone or with Delana only to one of those areas, or even Monteciel actually, I might be able to overhear some conversations or talk to certain people, find out about undercurrents that maybe the higher echelons haven't been hearing.
You think that's pretty reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, that sounds great. See what kind of information you can dig up. And I mean, Tormac may want to go with you because that may be his kind of scene too, or he might want to. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, Tormac, obviously.
I'd tag along for that.
Okay, so we're gonna have Monteciel, Tormac, and Cinder go slumming, and then Bryn and Delana Go elsewhere.
Sounds like a plan.
Does that sound good, Lana? All right.
So, can someone type that and put it in chat just so it's easier to remember next week? Because we're going to stop here shortly because my sinuses are starting to get really bad. It's hard to think when you're having a hard time breathing.
Yeah, it's not a lot of fun. You guys all have done really well considering it sounds like almost everyone's sick.
Pretty much. At least half.
Yeah, as I've been talking, my sinuses and my throat have been getting worse and worse again. So I don't want to go too much farther. But yeah, someone write in the split in chat, and when we pick up next week, we'll know exactly where to go. Not next week. Next session, we'll know exactly where to start.
Okay, so it was Cinder and Tormac are going to the slums.
Yes, along with Monticello. He's not here, so we get to arbitrarily decide where he has to go.
Okay. I am butchering his name.
Not so much the slums as it is the Undercity. It's kind of the same thing, but not quite.
Undercity?
It's just the rougher part of Dwarven Town, as it
Yeah,
were.
I mean, in Forge, even the wrong side of the tracks is still relatively affluent and relatively safe. It's just not nearly as much as the rest of. It's kind of like the docks. You know, no matter where you go, if there's see with the docks, the docks district is a little bit run down. It's a little bit more dangerous, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a really shitty part of town either.
Sure. Just the King's Guards don't go through that area as much, perhaps, right?
Right, exactly.
There's less prying eyes.
And Brennan and Delana were going where?
I guess we're just going to interview people that have seen these performers before, right? And see what...
Yeah. In the more normal areas. Not disguised. So we'll probably seek out some your clans. I can't think of the name. It's a simple word too. Sympathizers with your clan.
Sure.
I can't remember the name. Brain allies. Thank you.
Allies is good.
Okay.
I couldn't remember that word.
So all right. So with that, we'll stop from there. We will pick up on the 24th. Is 2 weeks from today, and it will be same bat time, same bat channel. Let me go ahead and stop the broadcast. So everybody say goodbye to our viewers.
Bye, viewers.
Bye, everybody.